Everyone, it's Michelle Lightworker here, and welcome to Enlightened Conversations. Today I have the wonderful Lauren Kurth joining me for an enlightened conversation about all things ET, and we are going to have, I'm sure, a really awesome convo on so many different subjects today. Let me formally introduce Lauren to you. My goggles on. As you can see, I'm all rugged up again for winter. It's lovely. So Lauren Kurth is a cosmic visionary, a quantum movement mentor, and support specialist. She's also an experienced sound healer, and she's done work as a UFO ET quantum contact global leader, a teacher and fieldwork group leader. She's also had experience as a quantum intelligence healer, a public speaker, writer, and published columnist. And she's also a quantum healing hypnotherapist and thought field therapy facilitator. So as I mentioned before, Lauren has also appeared in the recently released documentary Orenda by the award-winning filmmaker Dr Lana Marconi. And for those of you who don't know anything about Orenda, I will talk about it in a little while, but it's basically about the undeniable intelligent force that flows through everything. Just that, okay? So welcome, Lauren. Welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
You're welcome. I know sometimes we have these little technical glitches, and then everything just worked at the end. I love that. We just kind of rolling with it. Okay, what else will work out? All of a sudden at the end, you appeared. It was wonderful.
Yeah, I just got into a connected state and shifted the energy, and away it went.
Perfect. That's beautiful. I like to say to people, always have a backup plan, so we can always, you can always call in if we have any technical issues and things like that. But it's so lovely to see you and to visually see your face and just to be in that visual space. So welcome.
You too. Thank you.
And just for anybody who doesn't actually perhaps understand what a UFO ET quantum contact global leader is, do you want to just explain that to people so they have more of an insight as to what you're about and what you do there?
Sure. I run public groups for quantum contact, UFO ET contact events. So I've been having contact with non-human intelligence since I was about 4 years old, and through the course of my experience I had downloads through my higher self, and I got my own protocols on how to make contact. So I formulated a structure and a training, and I give a 2-hour training and then a 5-hour skywatch based on my protocols. I also give private group trainings where I go to people and they have their own group at their own property, and I teach them my protocols, and I have probably a 99% success rate wherever we do the protocols at any time. We always have some form of contact.
I'm getting goosebumps as you're talking to me about this, and I feel like it's a sign that it's almost like the protocol side of things that you're sharing with people really acts like a magnet. Would you concur? Like, would you feel that that's true?
Absolutely. There's a doctor in the States called Dr. Joseph Burks who called me a prime contactee, which means that energetically I've been prepared for this all my life, which I would totally agree with. But yes, the protocols that I teach that were downloaded to me also match perfectly with Nassim Haramein's free energy device protocols. When I met Nassim, I was quite blown away at how closely related the protocols are. So I'm really teaching people about how to switch on their energy, how to get into a state of contact in a real heart space, and how to engage with non-human intelligence.
Wow, I love it. It's fascinating. I feel like it's, for me, because I operate on 12 high vibrational principles, one of those principles is willingness. And for me, I feel like our will has to be engaged, and we have to actually want to have a connection. I know sometimes it's spontaneous because we're ready, and I've experienced that myself, but I feel like when you really want to progress and extend yourself to learn more and to understand more, you really need to engage that willingness, don't you? I think that's a big one. I don't know if that's part of your protocols, but that's a big one for me.
Sure, really just an open mind.
That's one of my principles.
I do charge a fee at my events for covering costs and things like that, but that's also an energetic commitment to the participant to show up with an expectation that they're going to be open to doing that. And during the training, people certainly get to experience a different energetic resonance within themselves, their own frequency, and have quite a distinction between before they came and while they're there and then during the event. I also often will show a lot of photos of the phenomena, which isn't just the classic disc in the sky. There's so many different forms of contact. So I think the visual of that really opens people's mind and excites them to being open to seeing, and that creates an energy within the group as well. I love people that come along with healthy skepticism. I find that when they see something and the energy expands, it really contributes to the group. So that's great.
It's amazing the shifts that people have, and as I said, like one of my other principles is open-mindedness. Doesn't surprise me that that's something in your protocol. And then the other one of our principles that I really feel like is kind of what we're talking about is unity. So, when someone's energy expands and they get these confirmations, and then because they have this sense of it's real, it's actually, I'm connected to this, I can feel it, it brings more in. But I love what you're saying there about healthy skepticism. I think it's great. I think that people also need to have their questions and be willing to question how things work and why they are the way they are. I think it's never stop questioning is something that's really important to me, and also part of keeping an open mind.
Absolutely, and the healthy skepticism is great because it allows people discernment, and to ask questions, especially of yourself, is very important, because a question, every piece of information that flows to you has come from a question. Most of them are unconscious. So when people are asking questions of themselves and the experience, they're actually, all questions are directed to your higher self. So they start to receive the energy, sort of the information that they want to receive. That also unlocks their awareness that they have this immense infinite power within themselves to connect with things beyond the seeing and bring that into a visible spectrum or an experience that they can feel, smell, taste, touch or see, or perceive. So that's really great.
Oh, that's amazing. And it does become more real and feels, I think, originally starts off perhaps as a feeling. I get a sense that there might be something around here. But then, there might be, as you layer the experience as well. But I'm a big believer that we all experience things in the way we're ready for. So don't discount it. Like if you can't see something that maybe someone else sees at that moment or what have you, it's not that you weren't meant to see it. It's perhaps you need to tune into your own way of connecting, and that could be through a feeling, energy, or a sound, or a hearing, or just knowing, and that's important too. Hey,
absolutely. Part of my protocol, all energy is around us. All frequencies are in that what we would call the Orenda field, or quantum source energy, the quantum unified field. So during my process, we actually bring energy in for people to be able to see, feel, perceive, smell, hear on a level that they've never experienced, at their most heightened experience at the moment for their highest good. So we all see with our visual eyes at my groups. There's very rarely, unless someone's got glasses, that they don't get to see what's going on. I have made a bit of a not a contract, but I have an understanding that in those groups, if I'm to contribute and commit to those, that they will show up in a manner that we all get to experience it, which is really, really great.
That is so beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, Do you guys use telescopes as well, or is it the naked eye? Okay.
Naked eye. I really am focusing on at the moment is bringing stuff into our circle. So we see a lot of things in the sky, high up, deep space, some a lot closer. In the bush around us, we've seen lots of blue flashing lights that have gone on for like 20 minutes. But my intention is to really bring it into the group. I have had physical contact myself, and I would like everyone to experience some form of that. The other thing with a group like that is we've created a real connected space of trust, and people come in with the understanding that they can share an experience without the person. And it's amazing when we do that, and I use protocols to connect everyone in a heart space, the trust that's built in a group and the experiences that people begin to share. And then most people recognize they have had some form of experience. That's why they're there. That's why they're attracted to it. Their intuition knows where they need to be led. And once they've actually voiced that out loud, that expands the experience even more, and it builds on the energy of contact. It's really important.
Isn't that beautiful, though, that the people that gravitate to these things have perhaps maybe had some inkling of it, and so together as a group it builds that energy even more. Like there's a validation and a confirmation, and and it expands their experience because they're a collective, and I think that's exciting. I'm big on that. Like, let's all get together and yes, as individuals we're waking up and we're awakening, but I think you and I, as illuminated leaders, we're much more about community, and that really does shine through with illuminated leadership. It is really about bringing people together, and really not about the ego, and it's more about, hey, it's about us. And I love how you start it with the heart, and I was going to ask you that, so you beat me to it, because one of my principles is love, and coming from that heart space. And it's wonderful that you start at that space, because, honestly, over the span of my life, I've had lots of connection with amazing, beautiful, high vibrational beings, but at the same time, in other times in my life where I have been in a very fear-based state, I know, like, I can look back on those times now, and I know that I was attracting some lower vibrational frequency beings, and that was because I was in that space, and I had that all happening in my energetic field and in my mind, and so that's what I was attracting to me. And so we can change that. That's a really powerful thing to realize. That's full on powerful to realize that, the ability to really tap into that Orenda, which I'm going to describe to people, because people hearing this Orenda, they probably have no idea what we're talking about, but I'll read you the description. The film Orenda is about the undeniable intelligent life force that flows through everything, connecting all that is through vibration. This hidden power, called Orenda by Indigenous people, pulls us forward into higher realities of consciousness that includes telepathic communication with advanced benevolent star nations, spontaneous healing, shape-shifting, directing nature at will, activating superhuman abilities, and engaging in other multidimensional experiences characteristic of the evolving new human, desiring ultimate fulfillment. So that's a little bit about Orenda, which I love. Beautiful. The way that's put together. Isn't that beautiful? The way Lana Marconi, the award-winning director who's put that film together, that we just so happen to be in, which is exciting. And also, I do want to mention to people that some brand new news straight out of the brand new newsroom is that Orenda the film is going to be screened on the Sunshine Coast on the 22nd of August at Caloundra Big Screen Cinemas. So we're very excited. There's going to be
that's my birthday.
Oh my God, it's your birthday.
And I may unfortunately be in America on a UFO tour, actually. So, yes.
Oh, wow. Okay, but that's okay. I mean, it's exciting that it's on your birthday. It's exciting that it's a beautiful confirmation that
absolutely
that you were meant to be in the film. and that you're off doing amazing UFO things. That's fantastic. So yeah, very excited about being in the movie. Yeah, do you want to share a bit more about your experience of being in the movie? I'm happy to share mine, but I'd love to hear yours.
Sure. To be honest, I actually don't remember a lot of what I've said. I know Lana said it was great. It was filmed with one take when she, in one go. She just stopped once to ask me a question. But what I really did is got into a connected state and spoke from my heart and spoke from my truth. So word for word, I am not sure exactly what I said. I have an idea of what I said, and I was very happy with what I said. And just loved the way it flowed. And I think when you're speaking from your truth and from your heart and from your own experience, not someone else's truth, the right stuff that needs to reach the people that will be seeing that film just seems to happen.
I did feel that as I was watching the film. I really did feel that everybody was really connected, and thank God, because I think that would have really shown if people weren't. I feel that everybody, I know for me, I was getting goosebumps as I was like sharing everything that I was sharing, and I really felt in the flow of that. And as a collective, we're talking about the collective, like as a collective of people sharing about this topic, I feel really excited to be in that collective, because we're really promoting it as a group and promoting that various ways of connecting, but as a group, and we all have different kind of ways that we gravitate, but it's all connected. Like it's like what you do. Like I live my life from these high vibe principles, right? They still navigate me to have similar experiences you do, and you. It's kind of interesting, like they all kind of meet together because we're coming from similar vibrational intentions, right?
Absolutely, and it's wonderful to do it as a collective, because humanity's awakening at different levels, and we all are coming from the same energy, that Orenda, or it's the energy of the greatest soul that's projecting and creating this reality, as we are the soul experiencing itself. And it resonates with different people that are at different levels of their experience and their awakening. So I think it's important to have that community of people to share that, so that it does resonate with multiple levels of people. And I really loved the amount of doctors and professional people in there, because there's that whole part of society that is awakening, that's still very left brain, and they love the facts, they love the science, and it's wonderful to see people of that caliber are having these experiences and sharing them openly as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I hope you can see me, because I've just noticed I've disappeared on the other side of the screen, which is kind of funny.
I can see you.
Oh, fabulous. I'm hoping everybody else can see me too. It's kind of like a kind of surreal experience to to be here but not here. It's kind of funny, considering the topic material that we're talking about. I should take a photo. I should take a photo with my phone. I will, because I think it's good to do that kind of stuff, and then I can show you what I see.
I just want to touch on what you said about being leaders in the field, and I think it's really important for people that are awakening to get a clear distinction about what a leader is. A leader has no intention of creating followers. Yeah. They are creating a community where they lift each other up, where they don't see themselves on a pedestal or as a guru. I am very cautious of anyone that considers himself a guru and wants followers and all that sort of thing. A leader really draws everyone as a community and supports everyone as an equal and shares openly.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. And I'm really a big believer that every single person is merely an extension or a part of myself anyway, and vice versa. Like we're all in this together. So it's no use trying to kind of feel like special and different. Like we're just experiencing a part of ourselves, right? So it's not like we're really, we're important. We're all important. We're all equal in that. But I'm just saying, like, if we're comparing ourselves to people all the time, and all we're really doing, I think, is we're in denial around our capacity to be to be able to do anything, to be able
Sure.
to, not put ourselves in a little mold of, oh, this is just me. I know for me, like I've come into this lifetime with, a particular personality, and I like my personality and things like that. But at the same time, I experience very different aspects of myself all the time. And for me, my go-to is very fun and happy, and I kind of am like that 90% of the time. But, there are other times that I am extraordinarily serious or what have you, or extraordinarily focused, especially when I'm working. And you wouldn't recognize me, but it's still me. And it's beautiful to be able to allow ourselves to have all aspects and express all aspects of ourselves. I believe it's really, and then that's when we can actually see that in everybody else, instead of, oh, they're looking up to me because I'm so whatever. But they just haven't perhaps experienced that part of themselves yet. They will get there because we all have to. So, they're not different from me.
No. I have a slightly different view. I think we are all special. We've all chosen to come here. We just all have a different piece of the puzzle, and we all have different roles. Us all being special doesn't make anyone better than anybody else. And I do believe we're actually all very different. There's this whole talk about how we're all connected. We're connected as far as the Orenda force or the greater soul projecting, but we are most definitely individual. We're not all the same. We all come in with that different role, so we can't all be the same. And being an individual and being comfortable with that and knowing who you are is really, really important. And usually people are looking to others perhaps in an unhealthy way is really just a reflection of how much they don't make themselves a priority in their life and own who they are and own their power. And that's based on our beliefs and our programming that we get when we're young. That really doesn't serve us, because most of us are actually living lives that belong to somebody else based on someone else's beliefs or what society's projected at us. And I think the more you become a conscious being, that you aren't just a body, that you are truly the soul, or the higher self inside is the real part of you. And it comes with its own purpose. So in a way, we are all different. But I think that's a really, really beautiful thing, because it's those pieces of the puzzle all coming together and fitting as the whole, which is awesome.
When I had a intergalactic conversation with a being from another universe, one of the things he mentioned to us was that where their universe is at, they've evolved to a place beyond form. So what they're continuing to do is they're having conversations, telepathic conversations with each other, where they can actually see every lifetime that's been lived, and they're actually helping each other to what he called resolve. So in essence, yes, everybody's an individual, but we're all here to help each other to resolve or come to a place of peace around every single issue we have. And so in that particular lifetime, that's kind of the last port of call to resolve everything. And he mentioned to me that the ability for us to see someone else's history or timeline and their issues as they're speaking come up gives us a big picture of what they've gone through, and gives us a really good idea of perhaps where they're stuck or what have you. And so it's only by that communication at that last point between people, really, which brings us back to that community idea, that person can actually find a place of resolution and peace. And so I agree with you insofar as, like we have this will, it's our own, we're an individual, it's our job, it's our responsibility to eventually to resolve, to come to a place of peace, so that our contribution to, as you're saying, to the bigger picture is it all fits together, like in a resolved way. I don't know. Lauren, I haven't found I'm writing a book on it at the moment. I haven't found the words yet to explain the incredible insight and power that meeting has provided me with yet. I still haven't. I don't even know if I ever will, but I do know that was absolutely huge. And I have so much respect for people that are helping any of us to get to places of peace quicker so that they can feel resolved quicker.
Sure. I had a similar experience with a being that come from that, what we'd call more of a collective consciousness, where they're living as light beings through that state. And they actually described to me the distinction between here and there. And theirs was that they'd evolved to a level where they were working basically on raising frequency and everyone being resolved at the same plane. So they were brought into manifestation, into a role that they were quite happy to do, but it wasn't like here where you can choose a different job and you can move around. Everyone had their role, and it was about everyone rising in their vibration together. They described the difference in Earth was that we were individuals and we don't get to remember always all of our own lives, and that the only shift in consciousness that would happen on this planet would be an individual shift in consciousness. The reflection that you're talking about, if you are triggered by someone, is really just the deliverer of the gift of what needs to be resolved within yourself. And when we are being distracted constantly by the external, by looking for signs and signals all the time, it takes us away from our inner truth. And our inner truth, the answers that you can receive from your higher self, has the answers for everything you need. And I think sometimes when we're looking externally, we're looking to fix something that we've experienced that has caused us pain or grief, and that still continues to trigger us. But when we internalize that and we listen to our own truth, the only thing there is to do is to get to a state of ease. So if you imagine a state of ease, would be removing the energy that's triggering and then connecting more with your own frequency. I call that the 0 point of the heart, a state of ease where you're neither at a low or you're not overexcited. And what happens is when you're completely connected with your higher self, which is your highest frequency resonance that you can be in a human body. If you imagine the trigger has a resonance here, but your higher self is here. When you get to that, you stop subscribing to this. So what happens is, being energetic humans, we're resonating out to the universe, and the universe is responding to us. Life isn't happening to us. We're the total creators of every experience we've ever been through, and that's where people get stuck, because we can't imagine we created things that don't serve us. And that's based on those beliefs. So when you continue to get at ease, rather than try and fix something, you shift your frequency away from it, where you no longer subscribe. And what that does is bring up what needs to be addressed. And that's how you manage to move forward. That's how you become resolved within yourself. And then you can take the best part of you and share that with the world. And you live your life by example. And that's the real way that people are drawn to your energy, because they want that resolve within themselves. And I think that's a real important distinction. And that's our free will. That's our free will.
Totally agree with you. And yeah, one of the being's name is Ralph, by the way. He said to me that it was definitely a place of humanity that he was talking about. And he was showing me that there are different universes that have stages of humanity, if you like. And he was showing me a certain stage. And he said, it's not the spirit world. I know you can't see me. I know you can hear me, but it's not the spirit world, okay? You know, like he was making a really firm distinction, because it's easy to get confused when there's no form, but it could be humanity. But, yeah, it was really interesting. And I'm still integrating it. It only happened like about probably 5 weeks ago. And I was just like, holy cow, like this is like mind-blowing. And yeah, I'm in agreement with you. It's really about owning our life and owning our choices, and not limiting ourselves too. And I think that's where I get the unity thing. That's where the unity thing really comes into me, because I look like everybody else is just an expression of every single aspect of myself. And so how do I feel about that aspect? How do I feel about that aspect? How do I feel about that aspect? They're doing me a favor by showing me that aspect of me. And am I at peace with it? Or am I, or am I, or am I, where am I, and so no one's, like people, the buzzword is life's not happening to you, it's happening for you. It's true. I mean, it is true because
happening through you. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're not just happening for you, but through you. Exactly. Thank you. It's owning it in even bigger step. It's taking it to that point where you're saying everything's serving me, every single little thing. I'm not going to have an attitude about anything that happens because someone might have needed that to happen for their evolution. So why should I be complaining if I really care for that person and it looks like something shit house is happening to that person? I should really be celebrating because I know that they've had to go through that particular challenge for them to actually be stretched, perhaps broken open, whatever, to get to the next level, whether it's this life, next life, whatever. And that's why I don't have a judgment on things like, suicide, or I just don't. I just think we're on a continual evolution here. We're learning the best we can with what we've got. Sometimes we get to a certain point and it doesn't mean we'll stop. We'll just pick it up where we left off, right?
Absolutely. And I think it's really important when we are triggered, because life happens around us and these triggers happen all the time, is to recognize that the ego mind is triggered, and to be grateful that you've had that awareness is the first thing. And then to recognize, don't stop there. Ask yourself, why is that triggering me? And be open to receiving the answers, because that's when the gold's going to come to you as to what needs to be addressed within yourself. Yes. It could be just an energy you're holding. People tend to get triggered and they go into judgment because they let their ego sit with them and trigger them there. And a really quick way to get out of that is to bring it back to you and ask a question of yourself. Why is that person triggering me? And it's not because, they're doing something, they're being a bitch or whatever. Excuse me. It's that they're triggering an experience that I haven't addressed yet, or something that I did that I've been denying of myself, or I've been judging myself rather than just seeing it as an experience. And how can I grow from that?
Yes, and this is the other one which I have experienced, and is that when someone did something that would maybe usually trigger me, but I wasn't triggered, right? But I recognised it could have triggered me because it would have, but then I'm like, oh, I wasn't triggered. Oh, that's interesting. Had that experience, and then I've responded completely differently because I'm not triggered, right? So I've responded in a polite way, or whether vibrationally or actually physically or whatever it is. And then all of a sudden, I see that person has a transformation because I didn't engage in what I usually would have in myself, and I just see the whole thing heal quickly for them.
Sure,
so I'm like,
sure.
Holy, I must have been some kind of that person that we all have, right? That doesn't respond to a trigger, and we go, oh wow, wow, they're really amazing. I must have been that person for that person because we've all had them, right? You look at some people and you see how they respond to a really heightened situation. You go, wow, and I think that's cool too. That we take the ego out of it and we go, well, it's not all about me all the time. I mean, sometimes it's someone else is having a thing, and I'm part of helping them see their thing, and that's helping obviously me see how far I've come. So it's also that other anti-ego thing of not coming from. It's all about every single thing that happens in this whole universe, even that person crossing the road down there. It's all about me. Everybody's got their own thing happening, and as a collective, we're supporting. I believe this goes back to my conversation with Ralph that I was telling you about. I believe as a community, we are supporting everybody to evolve on some level. So, all the work you're doing is amazing, and talking about it is amazing. Not just doing it, but you coming on here, talking about it, you sharing it in Orenda, and getting on those bigger platforms. I think it's really important because more and more people are waking up to it, and more people need that validation. I went in to get something the other day from the local shops, right? And this is how this stuff works, isn't it, right? So I'm like, oh yeah, I just need to get this, and then for some reason we had a conversation about something that led to, oh, you're on television or something, because I was talking about what show do you have, and I was like, oh, yeah. She goes, spiritual, and I said, yeah. And then she goes, oh, I'm spiritual, and then she goes, oh, every day I have to come home, and while I'm cooking dinner I have to listen to something or watch something that's spiritual. And oh, that's right, she went to the local chemist shop, and I went in there to get some of my makeup. And then she was like, you would think it, right? Oh, someone's working in a chemist, drug pushers, whatever you want to call it. But if you put that judgment on that person before, having this conversation, then they're saying, oh, they're desperate and hungry for spirituality. I mean, this is where we find people. It's not obvious. Like we tend to think people are spiritual are, doing obvious spiritual things. But like Orenda's flowing through everyone, the chemist shop workers. There you go. That's a great example.
Sure. Absolutely. And when you were talking about not being triggered earlier, that's what I call, you were holding space for that person, but you were also maintaining your own resonance. And you're in a place of observation rather than reaction. So that's where you observe yourself and how you're feeling rather than reacting to it or becoming your emotions. And that's really important. And that's what really, when people talk about holding space, that's what that is. And often when you're in a situation where someone's in a very reactive state, you watch what happens when you go into silence. They're left with the sound of their own voice. They're left with their own actions, and then they have to address that, because people can't fight with themselves, but most people will apologise because they actually recognise that they're being reactive and that you didn't feed into that or buy into it, and you held space for them to have that awareness, and that's a really great thing. And to be able to support someone and not judge them and let them know, look, that's okay, it's just something that needs to be addressed. Can I support you in any way? Is really important. And the other thing that you touched on was about being spiritual and the lady having to go home and listen to something. I find, in my observation, and I don't feel it's a judgment, there is a huge confusion about what being spiritual is. That people think that we have to change, we have to become a vegan, we have to start juicing and detoxing, and we have to dress a certain way and have crystals. And I was guilty of that myself. But the definition for me of being spiritual is 100% being my authentic self in every moment, being able to speak my truth in every moment without worrying how it affects someone else. And that's where you were saying, that person might be going through something and they needed that experience. Sometimes the experience is that you need to speak your truth, even if they don't like it, because that is your truth. And when you're speaking the truth from your connected state, it's always for the highest good of everyone. They might not perceive it that way, and that's based on their level of awareness within themselves. But I think that's really important.
Yeah. No, it's totally true. And I just chuckled to myself because I tend to do that more and more nowadays. Just do state my truth and things like that. But it's not in a contrived way. Like, I think when I was a 15-year-old, I used to like to rock the boat with how I sort of spoke to people. If I see something they were bullshitting, And nowadays, I feel like it's more, just definitely kind of clean. It's just about me. It will either be about my needs or limits. And I have no problem with owning my needs or my limits, because I have no problem admitting I'm a human being, and I have no problem admitting that some days I have more energy and other days I don't, or I have more time, or whatever it is, because I live in this human plane, and that's cool. So sometimes I just, no, I'm sorry, or what have you, but I'm unable to do that, or I don't agree with that, but, I'm, this is how that would work for me. I'm just kind of more nice, nice and genuine, not honest in a bitchy way, I guess,
Sure. And I think that comes down to experience, but also being in a collective heart space. I mean, as the 15-year-old, it was most likely you hear of people speaking just to reply, or they get defensive because their belief system is being challenged. I think being disruptive is a good thing when it's coming from a heart space, because everyone's truth is their own. So, it's just information. When I share my truth, even if it's, from a higher self, to you, it's just information. what you take from that is totally your responsibility. So sometimes I think being disruptive is actually a good thing, as long as it's done from a heart space where you're not pretending that your truth is the only truth, that you know everything, that they're wrong is the other thing. So it's just perspective and just people's level of awareness.
Yeah, totally agree with that. I don't think anyone's ever wrong. I just think that they are at a certain level of their expression. That's just where their consciousness is at that moment. How can that be wrong? That's perfect. I think that it would be so lovely if the world took that vantage point more and more. Imagine that. Imagine if no one was ever wrong, really. How would the world look? I mean, that's mind blowing, really.
Sure.
Imagine if our political leaders came from that impulse or that intention when they spoke to people, or that they're never wrong. It's just it's simply where they are. So how do we work?
Everyone's experience is their own, so no one can deny that person's experience. With the quantum movement that I work in, we have an amazing group where we do share, and we share our truth regardless of what it is. And because we're all learning to maintain our own space and our own energy and not take on other people's energy, and also looking at the triggers as being a wonderful thing, because it is that gift of what needs to be addressed. I had a conversation with someone yesterday who was being triggered by me, and she told me exactly what she thought. Now, 5 years ago, I might have thought, wow, and judged her and not liked her anymore. But she said some pretty confronting things that might have confronted me before, but I recognise that that's all her stuff. She's only seeing me through the filters of her own experience and her own insecurities and her own ego mind. It actually built us up and made our connection stronger, that we were able to be so honest and share that stuff without holding back and be in total honest truth. And I was feeling what I was getting, so it confirmed what I was getting. It made me trust myself more, and it made me trust her, that she trusted herself enough to be honest, that we could have a truthful conversation about anything. And that's, to me, what true friendships and true connections are about.
Yeah, totally. And, the more, when I saw that other universe, last incarnation, that's all that's left, it gave me a new respect for relationships. And, I'd help people. I've written the Lightworker practitioner training, helping people to resolve stuff and things like that. But I got how important it was. I really got how the work that I have been doing and so many of us are doing in our own way is so ridiculously important. It's just so important. And it's interesting because I had that conversation a few days before 5D TV, and a crew of us were filming at the Discovery Expo, where I saw you, actually. We bumped into each other finally. Yeah.
We actually met. We met in Brisbane at a presentation where I was on the panel the first time.
Yes, that's right. Yes. The Resonance. Lana Marconi's not first movie, but one of her first ones premiering here. And we were on the panel together. That's right. I remember listening to you and wow. And I just remember when I was at this Discovery Expo, it was just after, just after this intergalactic conversation. And I remember we're interviewing everybody there about how does the questions that came through, Lauren, were 3 questions the night before, and they were, how does our self-discovery evolve the consciousness of humanity? So a big question, like, oh my God. And then how do you do your own self-discovery? And then what's the best self-discovery experience you ever had? So here I am listening to speakers and stall holders talking about their connection, their experience with how they're owning their self-discovery, like how they're resolving, what they specialize in, all that. Oh my God. It was just mind-blowing confirmation to me after having that conversation as to how important we own our journey. It's
absolutely.
And most important that we own how we are choosing to do our journey, what works for us, like you're saying, not just stepping into, well, that works for that person, I should do that, or I should compare myself to that person because they're doing it that way. No more of that. You're on your own journey. This is yours. You have a responsibility to discover just who you are. That responsibility is incredible because if we're all doing that, this is how our human consciousness is evolving. So anyway, that's
absolutely that's beautiful. And you were saying about the relationships. All of our relationships are really determined by the relationship we have with ourselves, and how we speak to ourselves, how aware we are, determined the quality of relationship we have with everyone else and who we attract. And that working on ourselves and expanding our consciousness and our energy, because we are connected all through that Orenda energy, or the higher self, or the soul, unified field, whatever you want to call it. When we expand ourselves, we contribute back to that. Which comes back to what I'd said about the only real shift in consciousness will be an internal shift. The more you change yourself, the more we contribute to the whole, which is amazing.
Yeah. And I had this thought the other day when I run by you. I thought when we care for people, and I think as a society, almost an epidemic of people thinking when you care for someone, it equals you're worried. I actually don't think that we can actually extend love energetically to someone if we're worrying about them. I just feel that's a real conflict of energy, and there's a dissonance of energy. And I think if as a society we start to roll it back and go, actually, worrying is energetically taking or feeding toxic energy to that person. Absolutely. If we start to look at it like that, I think that our people's responsibility, self-responsibility is going to increase as well. They're not going to think, oh, they're not worried about me. What's wrong with me? Blah blah blah. They'll hit their stuff around not feeling worthy if no one's mollycoddling them and worrying, but just showing love. What's your feeling about all that?
Yeah, absolutely. Any worry, especially about other people's business, it's really not your stuff. You can support. When someone's in a situation, illness can be a gift. It can really, we create all illness. There has to be an environment for maybe different external things, but all illness starts from within. So for me, when I'm giving care to people, I ask them the question, what is it they need, and then offer that support. Because you can't actually give love to anyone. You can have a loving experience or you can love them, but you share a loving experience by respecting and honouring their ability to choose for themselves, rather than worrying and mollycoddling and stuff. That's where compassion can become the opposite of love. When we're doing that, when we're worrying and we're being needy over that person, we're actually enabling the sickness. We're not actually supporting the health. So that's when compassion can become the opposite of love. But really, to love would be allow them to experience themselves and offer support based on what they need. And that puts the power back to the people to make the choices to move forward and heal for themselves.
I agree. And also by doing that, like the person perhaps who's usually worrying, a worrier, almost like to prove that they care. If they care, they're worthy, And it's like, then they've got it, like they hit their stuff around that. Actually, I don't have to prove myself to anyone. I do love this person. Actually, I love them enough not to worry. How about that?
Worrying's taking on someone else's energy as well. It's not maintaining your own space, and that's where it does become the enabler of whatever situation they're going through.
Yes, and they don't get to learn from it. You're prolonging them learning from it.
Or change.
Not you prolonging. I mean, in general, we're prolonging them,
Absolutely.
And hey, I was just curious too. Just do you want to share maybe one of your up close and personal experiences, or one of the ones that jump out at you that you like to share about, or you'd like people to know with your experience? I'd love to hear one. I'm sure everybody else would too.
Sure. There's been many. I've had lots of what people call dream state experiences. A normal dream, we often lose it within a few minutes of waking. It becomes like a distant memory where we may only get snippets of it. An experience in dream state is clear and vivid with colour, sound, sensation. It's something that doesn't leave you. My first experience that I was conscious of happened at 4. Now, I don't remember a lot of my early childhood, but that experience, what I could remember as a child, is as clear as day. I know the flannelette pajamas I was wearing, the brown spotty sheets. I had a sense of time as well, which is very strange because at that age had probably only just learnt to tell the time and didn't wear a watch from memory. But the details are so vivid, and it's the emotion that goes with it. Where when I recall that I'm experiencing it again, I can feel it in my body. And that was my first UFO. I woke in the middle of the night around midnight, and I was drawn with a sense of familiarity, family and belonging to head to the window. And I pulled back the curtains, and there was a classic disc-shaped craft a couple of 100 metres in the air above the treetops, probably 150 metres away, over a local football field above some pine trees, and it hovered there for what seemed like a few seconds and then disappeared over the mountain. So I have had, through some processes, some memory of actually being on that ship that actually only came about 6 months ago, when I was exploring within myself some beliefs I had that were unrelated, but those beliefs were picked up in that experience when I recognised I was in a human body and that I had this human life that I had to live in. And I was actually shown some of the things that I would go through as a point of reference to what it was to be human. I had a physical contact on the 7th of July 2007 in my garden, broad daylight. I was doing a standing meditation inside my crystal stone circle outside when I recognised a presence that had been telepathically communicating with me for a long, long time. And I was being told that I would get on stage and share all these things and that I would do all this stuff. And I was in disagreement at the time that I was going to do that. I had young children. I had a family. So I actually said, if I'm going to do that, you have to meet me halfway and I want to see you. And I was told that I wasn't ready, and I assured them that I was. And at that moment, when I connected through my heart, all these blue little orbs started flying into the atmosphere and pooling into a bigger orb, then blipped into a being, which I only saw from about the waist up. And he was an Arcturian. He was blue. He had an elongated head, but he didn't have the classic black eyes. He actually had pupils, almost Asian looking. He spoke through his mind. He was very authoritative. I could tell that they were quite technological in the way that they were speaking, very loving. And I still to this day wonder if it was a projection, like a holographic projection from perhaps a craft that was cloaked, or whether I'd projected it from my consciousness. I'm still trying to work those things out. And that's where, to me, discernment and even skepticism is important to me, not just to judge and pretend I know what that was, because there's always more to learn when we don't know. So that was a pretty incredible experience, and everything I was told is actually coming to pass. And I'm certainly being drawn into different platforms of speaking on stage and sharing what I know. One of the most amazing, I've had 2 that stand out experiences where we saw live craft. I was with my sister, who's a nurse, and 3 of my children. My eldest child that was there at the time was probably about 15. He's 19 now. I was in Mullaney, broad daylight, about an hour before sunset, and I just had that feeling to look up in the sky. And we were actually noticing bugs playing next to a power pole in the light, they were making a double helix. So there was this connection with genetics and energy and frequency and geometry going on. And then we saw an aeroplane come across the sky. So we had different points of reference and sound and solid visual. And then all of a sudden, a classic disc like the first one I saw came across. And I got the telepathic message, there's more. And 5 actually came across. We all saw it. They went across the neighbour's house. So I climbed up on my Jeep at the time. I saw them triangulate and then disappear in what I call a cloud burst, where it sort of bursts in and out. As if it was moving energetically, gathering energy, opening up the fabric of space-time and moving, whether it be interdimensional through what we call warp space at fast speed, I'm not sure, but that was pretty amazing. Another experience was the first time I was using my cellular resonance protocols, where we spin things within our cells to really expand our frequency. There was 18 people at that group. 2 people had such a shift just with the meditation. They had an early start. They did leave the group, and I know now that they weren't ready for the experience that was coming. We were doing it on a veranda because it was raining. When the rain stopped, we went out into the field that I'd prepared earlier with our circle and our, what would you call it, our centerpiece that we do our honouring and creating a sacred energy and protection. And we were just doing normal protocols, and all of a sudden, through some clouds facing north, several kilometres in the sky, some lights came through. And we had lightning off in the background, so you could see what that light looked like. There was 6 lights, 5 in a row and 1 slightly left. At that time, when we connected with it as a group, all of the gear shut down. So the phone died, the monocular, which had 5 hours left on it, drained. Everything turned off except for my sound equipment, which I couldn't control. And it brought on a new clip that had been sent to me by a composer called Brian Collins, who puts all his contact music into 432 hertz. That's that heart, love, intelligence of the universe frequency. Excuse me. It started to play the song, the music, and it went in repetitions of beats. So beep, 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 and then it would get beep, 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 really, really fast.
Oh, we've lost you. Interesting.
Me, Michelle?
Yes, I've got you. I think the resonance is, confirming.
Yeah, I often affect electrical equipment. So as the song went up another frequency between the 6 lights, if you imagine 3 pairs of 2, these beautiful white cylinders of energy just appeared. And then inside them was orange light, like an old coil light bulb that goes like that, but the energy was going up. And then as the music changed again, 3 beams of light came out, and they traversed the sky, kilometers into the sky, really, really fast, and lit it up. They also made, I think it was a cube in the sky. It was a pattern anyway. It all stopped, and all the gear came back on. 10 minutes later, we talked about it. I went over what I saw. Everyone agreed. All of a sudden, someone said the lights are back. Again, everything shut down. The music started. Bam, bam, bam. We had the 3 lights in the sky again. This time, they made the flower of life and then jetted all over the sky. It was phenomenal. The energy was amazing. Nobody could speak. Even I had trouble finding words. It did start to rain, so we all left in a bit of a hurry. One guy gave me a hug, and all he could say was, best contact we've ever had, talk soon. And we all left. The whole way home, there was blue, like electrical energy coming out of trees off the ground and the clouds in the sky. There looked like a cloud over the Glasshouse Mountains that looked like a mothership. And one couple had driven from Conondale to Ipswich, which is about a 2.5-hour drive, and that cloud craft followed them home, and they saw the blue light everywhere. So that's pretty amazing.
I love that. Oh, it's so beautiful, and I appreciate you sharing that. And I don't know if you can see this, but that is actually what I am still looking at since I mentioned it to you earlier on. See how there's the one on the other side that's got you can see me, I'm definitely there, but then you can't see me. So I'm still looking at that right now, Lauren. So there's, a confirmation going on that I'm here, but I'm not here. And, just like we're more than we're more than this human experience. That's the message coming through. And I love your stories, and I know we're running out of time. We've got like 1 minute left, so I'm going to make some announcements. First of all, I'm going to make some announcements for you because I'd like people to know where they can find you. If anybody wants to find Lauren, you can head over to her website at laurenkurth.com. Lauren, I better put my glasses on. That would be
Lauren
helpful.
M. Kurth. Yeah.
Thank you. laurenmkurth.com, and connect with her and find out where she's doing her next events. If you'd like to watch the trailer for Orenda, there's the link for that up on the screen. And if you'd like to download the movie and buy the movie, this is the actual movie, watch the movie link. The Orenda premiere on the Sunshine Coast will be on the 22nd of August at the Caloundra Big Screen Cinemas. And I can confirm at this stage we have Jean, a question and answer panel happening afterwards. And it's going to include Jean Sheehan, Raylene Byrne, Naomi Whitmar, Tammy Pike, and I hear you're not going to be here, Lauren, so that's unfortunate, but if you're here, you're here, which will be wonderful.
If I'm here, I'd love to be there, yeah.
In spirit, you'll be here, that's for sure, I know. And perhaps we've invited Mary Rodwell as well, and I'll be emceeing the event. So I look forward to that. Thank you so much for joining me today. Oh my God, I could keep talking with you because I've had experiences myself, and I'd like to share some more of those. So anyway, I'll find an opportunity to do that. But it's just been such a joy. Thank you so much, Lauren.
Perhaps we could have another conversation another day. It'd be great.
Yeah, love that. All right, beautiful.
So much more to share. Thank you so much, Michelle, and thank you to the listeners and watchers.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Bye-bye.